You have so many options for building a front end within a Laravel application. You have Inertia, and Inertia has React and Vue and Svelte, and probably other community adapters now or in the future. And then you have just Blade within Laravel. That's just server render templates, and there's a lot of stuff you can do within that. Then you have Livewire, but even within Livewire, there's three kind of options. There's the traditional class-based separate files where you have your PHP file and then you have your Vue file. But then there's Volt. And even Volt has two different options where it's a functional style where it looks a little bit more, I don't know, functional. But then there's also the class-based. It's a little bit more traditional, just those two files squished together. And I would say within that, the traditional Livewire is probably most popular. And then within Volt, class-based is probably most popular. And I don't really have too much of a preference. Usually I'll tend to pick Volt within class-based. But there's a reason why a lot of people don't choose Volt. And when I asked on Twitter, these are the responses I got. A while ago, I said, for those who haven't heard of Volt or for those who don't use it, what's stopping you, basically? Especially when you see this sentence. Volt is an elegantly crafted functional API for Livewire that supports single file components. Even that's a little bit different because it's not just the functional API, it's the start of it, and you can use class-based if you want as anonymous components. But most people who said they're not using it say they just tend to reach for traditional Livewire because of IDE support. It doesn't feel complete. It doesn't feel proper. But maybe that's changed. Robson Tenorio, the creator of Mirror UI, which is basically the Daisy UI port for Laravel and Livewire, created Voltage, which is a VS Code and also like Cursor, Windsurf through OpenVSX extension to give you a ton of stuff in your VS Code specifically for Livewire Volt. Why don't we take a look at the GitHub repo? So Voltage, Livewire Volt and Blade Intellisense for VS Code, Cursor, Windsurf. And so it's just the class-based for now, not the functional API. That's the one I particularly use, the class-based one. And it works specifically to use this as the PHP language mode. Some of the features it has is autocomplete. So being able to have the autocomplete for Livewire methods within your code, and we have to turn on this quick suggestions for strings, but it also formats using Laravel Pint. I've already installed it, but let's go ahead and mess with some of these settings and I'll kind of show you what it does. I think it's really, really neat. So I'm using this within my Fission starter kit, which is Folio and Volt kind of pushed together, which I think this still works because I'm using anonymous components, which is just the @Volt tag, but I think it still works because it's just a PHP tag. But one of the things that I did notice that when I enabled the Voltage component is I had to disable any other Blade formatter. So before, I believe I had, nothing enabled for Blade, but before I had the tall stack package installed, which included the Laravel Blade formatter and maybe something else, but this is the only one that I had to disable because Voltage is basically going to take care of that for me now. It is a Blade formatter, so Blade Intellisense specifically for Livewire Volt. I think this is just the way the Robson had to go in order to make this work particularly for Volt. So I think there's a couple of options that we have to set up. So if we take a look in the components, we have to turn on editor quick suggestions for strings. So if we go to our user settings, JSON, I think, quick suggestions strings is already turned on. And then we need to make Voltage as the default formatter for PHP. Let's see if we have that. PHP. Oh, there we go. We're going to turn that to the Voltage, which enables Pint. It looks like I previously had that set to Pint. And then I'm going to make sure Laravel Pint is installed, at least on this project. I believe it is. Let's go ahead and check. Yeah, nothing to install. So we're good because Pint install, I believe, is installed out of the box now within Laravel. If not, I had it installed in my Fission starter kit. And then add Prettier, the Prettier plugin Blade. So this is stuff I'm probably going to start adding to my starter kit as well. We'll pop that in. And we're not going to use yarn -- include dev. There we go. And then we're going to create a prettier RC file at the root of our project. And I believe I have the prettier extension installed, so I should just be able to do prettier create configuration file. And we're going to choose the root of our project, voltage test. And then we should have that prettier RC file. And I'm going to say this. And I might keep this. And we'll do this right here. There we go. I like it. Enable format on save. I believe I already have this, but we'll see in our user settings. Format on save. I do. Perfect. And then that should be it. So now if I go to maybe like the playground component, now this is all formatted within the voltage extension. So if I was to like redo some of this should format automatically. And yes, we do. And now the cool thing is it's autocomplete. So I believe if I was to do something like public function, maybe this is going to be a method within Volt where I say this is, I don't know, add to cache. And I say like, this is cache. We have an undefined type of cache. So I should be able to pull this in. Yeah. This is something, even just like something like this is like super nice for me, because before I was kind of manually having to type this out. And now it has all of like the PHP functionality that you would expect within traditional class components. But not only that, we have the ability to then have this be autocomplete. I have this add to cache and that we were able to auto import those in. But now if I have this button, let's say wire click equals, and then we have, let's see, we should have this automatically pulled in. Maybe it does not work on anonymous components. Let's go ahead and make a new component just to see. PHP artisan make Volt, new component, -- class. Okay, let's see. All that should work still, but we're going to remove this. We don't really need these anymore. I'm just curious if it's the anonymous component that might not be working properly. So wire click equals, and then in here, I don't think that's right. Let's see, public string name. And then we should have input wire model. Interesting. All right, I'm back. I had to do some digging and I realized that the voltage component or the voltage extension by Robson Tenorio, it only works if you're using the /Livewire route. So if you real quick, if you don't know, Volt has the option of installing, and the Volt service provider can mount in either the resources views Livewire or resources views pages directory. And within my starter kit, the Fission starter kit, I'm using Folio, which automatically defaults to the views pages directory. And it looks like the extension isn't set up to be routed in there. And Robson actually commented saying that he's going to get this fixed. So editing Josh stepping right in, because before I had a chance to even finally publish this video, Robson Tenorio actually fixed the pull request that I opened. So yes, the directory wasn't checking for pages directory. It was just checking the resources views Livewire directory, and Robson fixed it so that now it all works with Folio. So if I was to open my code editor right here, let's say we have this add to cache function, and before we wouldn't be able to get this method, but if I was to go ahead and close this, wire click equals, and now we have the add to cache. Again, it would be nice if we didn't have like the mount one popping up, but this is still nice to be able to click up here, and now it works in Folio with Volt. Now back to the video. Let's look at some of the features in a more classic Volt component style. I have my project that I built using or within the Laracast course. So let's dive into there because it's a pretty big component, and it will be good to kind of showcase some of the features now that we've got it all set up in VS Code. All right, so this is in the Livewire directory, which it looks like that's what it's starting to pull from. And then I do have some pages directories as well as, and so maybe like pages show would be like a good one. It looks like we have some, yeah, we have some stuff. Now that I have an actual PHP thing, I haven't been able to look at this, but now I can pull in like things like these session facades. Yeah, everything looks good there. No configuration file found for this project. So why don't I copy that over real quick, just what we were using in our other directory. All right, now I got those fixed. There's a couple other things I needed to fix on this page, and it's nice to be able to have that, some of that options now, especially now that it defaults to the PHP and Voltage plugin. So I have Voltage plugin installed, and in my Prettier file, that is what is using the Prettier plugin Blade, which is defaulting to the Voltage plugin right here for the PHP parser. That's what we had set up within our VSCode settings. But this also has Alpine.js formatting as well. I do have an Alpine.js syntax highlighting as well, but if I was to disable that, I believe we should still keep formatting. Yeah. So if I was to disable, enable it, and it looks like exactly the same. So disable, enable. Yep, exactly the same. So I'll keep this disabled. So now we have kind of one plugin within that Voltage to be able to have all of this kind of set up and ready to go. And so in this show.blade.php, this is where we can kind of see, this is a rather large, looks like, I think this is Intellisense's problem. I've always had a problem with finding specific methods. If we were to, like, auth user is a method. We know that exists. But maybe it's just because it doesn't exist in this specific class, this helpers class. I don't know. I've never figured out the reason why I can, or try to like ignore this, but everything else looks solid. It's really nice to be able to have this. And here's the benefit of this particular plugin. Is now I have the ability, okay, yes, you have the formatting and you have the syntax highlighting and you have the Prettier to be able to say, okay, if I was to do this, like saving just automatically formats it because it's using Pint behind the scenes. It does take a little bit. You might be able to see there. So I am clicking save now, and then it reformats this. This is probably because it's using Pint behind the scenes. So not only are we formatting the Blade, but we're also formatting PHP up here as well. But the cool thing is now you can kind of click into some of these methods. So if I was to use like authenticate user, if I was to go down to authenticate user down here, for example, we have this wire click. Not only do we have autocomplete, so wire click equals, and then if I was to pull this up, so let's see, wire click equals, and then if I was to pull this up, authenticated user, get listeners, we have all of these options right here. And then it just brings us directly to this method. That's really nice on a file like this where we have a ton of lines of code. So I can just pull into this wire model. So anything that's modelable, and then you still have all the click-through options for PHP as well, where you have this listening party, and it directs to this particular model. So all of that is incredibly nice to have, and it just makes things easier. I think the biggest win for me with this extension, yes, all of the niceties for formatting is really nice. I kind of already had that. The biggest win for me, even though yes, the autocomplete is really nice. I wonder if it autocompletes with Alpine. X show equals no. That would be tough to do, I feel like. But the thing that I really appreciate about everything that this plugin brings is less about even the Blade stuff and more about the PHP stuff, because I have just become accustomed to within Intellisense to be able to say, let's say for this event, if I was to say event and then new, I think this is like listening party, emoji reaction event. So like if event new emoji, like being able to have autocomplete, but then also automatic import, because that doesn't exist up here. Or if I was to like remove it up here, then we automatically have emoji reaction event being able to import that automatically on enter. I love these options here, because that is what I usually miss out on within Volt, and things that I often forget until I see those errors within my PHP or within my Laravel application, because I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to import that method or import that class. That is the biggest win for me within Voltage. And if we were to take a look at the Voltage extension, again, there's so much stuff that I think Robson is kind of like looking to bring with this extension, but I think this is going to be incredibly nice, especially with the features that are going to be coming with the VSCode extension from Laravel as well, because not only do you have these formatters within Blade and Volt specifically, but you have click to go, autocomplete, syntax highlight, everything for Blade components, and then Volt and class space. So this basically takes care of, at least for me, everything within the Blade style. And now I just have Intellisense for everything that's in everywhere else. And that is what the VS Code extension from Laravel is going to be bringing to that as well. So it's nice to be able to have just everything that this provides. And again, the biggest thing for me is just having this be able to be set to PHP while not losing out on all of this highlighting and formatting, because that is the biggest win. I'm curious if I think that's not only autocomplete for Livewire, but I think it's autocomplete for any kind of like Blade syntax here. So if I was to say listening, maybe it's not. Listening party episode. Okay, so this is not autocomplete. I believe with whatever Intellisense I had previously, and maybe that's something that Robson is going to incorporate eventually, but I believe whatever Blade and whatever one I disabled, this Laravel Blade formatter, and maybe it was either this, and maybe it's not formatter, but it might have been the Blade. Yes, Laravel Blade Intellisense, extra Intellisense. I wonder if, I'm curious if I enable this, if this will break everything now. Let's see. We'll go into show. So now if I go down, because I believe this is what gave me the listening party. Okay, yeah. So this doesn't break everything. Episode. And then I have the title there. And we still have formatting. Do I still have wire model? So if I had like a wire input, wire model, there we go. So we have wire model for message and user ID. Yes, perfect. So that still works as expected, because if I was to have this button of wire click, and then we have the options here. So it looks like it automatically fills in with Blade attributes here rather than defaulting to this. Yeah, that might be the Laravel extra Intellisense kind of clashing with the voltage component, and I would imagine like things like that could be adjusted to be able to say, okay, now I have, this with function. It'd be nice to also not have options there that are not necessary. So for example, it looks like it has the method for mount, for example, but you're never going to use that within a wire model or a wire click. So knowing that it's like wire pull, you're never going to even like pull the mount, but it looks like it's available as a method. Overall, and I've said it multiple times, but overall, I think the biggest win for me is having PHP Intellisenses with PHP Intellisense and not having to sacrifice everything that I usually use within extensions for Blade, for Blade Intellisense, for Blade formatting, for even Alpine formatting. Usually I would have to choose one or the other. And so a lot of times I would kind of switch back and forth between, okay, this file is PHP and now this file is Blade, but now I don't have to. I think that's the biggest win for me. And knowing that this is just version 1, it was just released 2 weeks ago. And Robson does an incredible job with all of his other projects as well. So I'm excited to see what this kind of holds in the future, especially with additional extensions coming out for Laravel in VSCode. So until then, give this a star, bam, and keep creating.